So this is crazy. I've been doing this for a year. I have no website. You guys, you can
We're like,
you can give me those glaring scares.
Hey everybody, welcome to RunLeadGen Radio, your go-to podcast for all things digital marketing and growing your business with your hosts Quinn
and Brian.
And today we are so happy to have David Askvig with us. We would love to hear a little bit about you, David. Give us a little introduction, who you are, maybe some background to you.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me. Quinn, we worked together at a company a little bit ago, and it's fun to have those connections. So, a little bit about me. So, from Utah, grew up in Utah. So, marketing background. So, really started out as a marketing generalist, all things marketing, and then discovered marketing automation. So, this was Pardot. So, if anyone remembers Pardot before Salesforce, actually they were purchased by a company, ExactTarget, way back when. I just fell in love with all the things you could do in terms of tracking leads coming in and interacting with them with emails and I loved it. So I kind of zeroed in on that and then really went into more sales ops. So like thinking, okay, now how does marketing interact with sales and what are sales processes? What tools and systems do they use? Use Salesforce and really enjoyed that process. And then eventually started working with HubSpot. And I think that's where my glasses, you can't see them. They have an orange tint to them, I think. I'm a little bit of a fanboy. Tools are as good as you use them.
Right.
But I've just really loved using HubSpot and all the ways that can be used.
Super cool. So you are now doing your own thing, David Askvig Consulting, right?
Yep. So I'm coming up on a year. I decided to, take the leap. It's a little bit scary. I'm the only breadwinner at our home. We have some kids, and so it's kind of scary to stop
It's a lot,
and so I left my job and said, let's do this. And it's been great. I feel really blessed.
But I love that. And that's really something that we are interested in with, the podcast and bringing people on. We love to see business owners, for one, people taking a risk, taking a chance, and then people mastering their craft and just doing more than the monotonous routine. It's empowering to see people do it. We love it. Yeah. We applaud you for it for sure.
Can I ask what spurred that? Like, was there a certain moment or event that happened that you're like, you know what, I gotta go for this?
Yeah. I think I have an entrepreneurial spirit, I think. I've done things on the side. So I play drums and I have a drum sales. Nice. I buy, sell, fix up drums and sell them. I've done that for the last few years and that funds the hobby, which is kind of fun when you don't have to get approval to buy more hobby stuff when you can just, so did a little bit of that. I actually had someone refer me, this was like 3 years ago, to help. There was a company using MailChimp at the time.
Okay.
And someone referred me. And to be honest, I really didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't know that I want to help them. Yeah. And I was like, I'll give you 10 hours. I'll help you kind of get things set up. And I loved it. And so that kind of sparked another interest in like, hey, maybe I can do this with more people. The reason I went out on my own is I felt like at my current position, like it was a great company, but if I wanted to personally grow more, I had to do something out of my comfort zone. And I had to go, down a path that forces me to do hard things, but also do more of what I loved. And at the time, I really wanted to work with companies using HubSpot as an all-in-one CRM, and that it just seemed like good timing at the time to give it a run for the money. I actually knew other people. So Quinn, I knew you were doing your own thing.
Yeah.
There's other people that I know in the Salt Lake Valley and other places that I talked to and said, hey, how are you doing this? Like, do you think I could do this? And so I think talking to other people that have gone down that route gave me confidence. It was like, okay, they're doing it and it's working.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. And so I don't know if you've followed along. Governor Cox has put out a campaign. I've seen it at some of the megaplex theaters, but Utah is the startup capital of the world. So Utah, Salt Lake City, Silicon Slopes, right? We are per the Utah honeybee nature, we're a busy bunch, and we are growing businesses. And something that RunLeadGen has been focusing on is, okay, Utah, startup capital of the world, don't just start up, right? Grow and kill it. And so let's talk a little bit about, you've mentioned HubSpot, you mentioned CRM, marketing automation. Let's talk about it, a little bit of that. A lot of these, audience that are watching this, they own small businesses. They may not exactly know how marketing automation or a CRM can help them. And they may not realize that they have options, and that, that there are things out there, services, companies like yourself or us that can help them. So give us a little bit into what that looks like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the market is saturated with tools. There's so many,
doubt.
and it can be overwhelming. What I would say is start with process, and I would take a good process manual over a bad process that's automated any day. And so I would say really think through and define what your process should look like. So let's dig into that. So one part of that could be, what do you want the customer experience and journey to look like, right? And then the internal perspective is then how do you actually facilitate that? Portions of that process are going to be manual. Some of it can be automated, right? But if you have a good vision for what that should look like, then you can figure out what tools to bring in to use that. Kind of a side note, as I was thinking about this discussion, I did you bring your dad to school day where
Right.
career day, you present on what you do. My kids had me come in, and I was like, how am I going to explain what I do to kids?
Yeah.
And so what I actually talked about was Chick-fil-A, right? So I would assume most people have gone through Chick-fil-A drive-through, right? You pull up, and some of them have 2 lanes, right? And so you are led to the right lane. There's a person there that asks for your order, and then they take your name, and then when you get to the next place, they pay, they know your name, you get to the front desk, and even though both lanes merge, they know who you are, they give you your order. I don't think I've ever had them mess up an order. They're pretty good about getting it right. And I like to use that as an example for when things work well for the customer. There's a lot of things that need to align at a Chick-fil-A to do that. You have sales, how do you get the money, right? How do you interact with the customer? How do you fulfill? That's post-sales. You give them their food. It can be customer satisfaction. I get a text of how was your order? That is an example of things working really well. And there's a lot of thought, both process and systems that went on the back end to make that happen. So as you translate that to any sort of business, that's really how I think about both process and then the tools you use to make things work.
Yeah, great insight. I think a lot of the times we'll have conversations with business owners, and they just say, well, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for the process. So, what are some indicators? And really maybe a better question is, how do we prepare businesses to get to that stage? Because I think a lot of the friction that we have sensed with clients or potential clients or just other business owners that we talk to is they're fearful of getting into those conversations and trying to solve those problems, because right now they feel like they're just trying to keep the business afloat. So how can we help businesses transition from this kind of reactive, I'm just going to do whatever I got to do to get something live and out and fulfilled, to, okay, let's get this off your plate. Let's plan for the future, so that it's kind of that concept of slowing down to speed up. How do we bridge that gap? How do we help businesses bridge that gap?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to have periods where you work a ton more to get to a place where you have margin. So I have one specific customer that is using HubSpot more on the sales side. And he just knew things weren't really running well. And he's the founder. And so he's also managing HubSpot. He's kind of the person that does everything that no one else is doing.
Sure.
And so with him, where we started off was, okay, you have a conversation with a prospect, then what happens? And I basically helped kind of map it out for him. And then I said, okay, where are the areas that you spend like the most time, or where are the areas that are just like a pain in the butt? And he was like, this and this and this. And then from there I was like, okay, well, how can we get that off your plate? So either document it so someone else can do it, or automate it. So like, for example, we had one, there was an email. So after an order is placed, he manually sent an email saying, here's the tracking, kind of a post sale thing. It's like, well, we have all that information. Let's just automate that. And as you kind of start picking at those things you can do, you buy yourself back time if you're a small business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for people, or for, I guess, business owners that are not using any marketing automation or a solution like that, what do you think the number one or the best feature or use cases that can help them say, okay, yeah, let's bridge that gap? I know for the system we use, we really liked the missed call text back. So your company gets a call and you're going to text them back. But is there anything that you found like that for HubSpot that has really stood out or been useful to most?
I mean, that's very industry specific,
Sure,
right? Like
definitely.
So I work with a lot of tech companies,
Okay.
and like the ability to fill out a form and book straight to a calendar is a huge one. I mean, it seems simple, but like it cuts out someone says, hey, I want to talk to you. And then someone tries to get a hold of them via call or email.
Right.
Like, well, what time works with you? This works. Oh, that doesn't work. And so, I mean, it's super simple. There's a lot of tools that do it. I like how HubSpot does it. If you do have that as a tool, and you can also do things like, for example, if it's a free email, perhaps you don't display a calendar because you don't actually want, like, if you're only looking for business domains, like you can do kind of some branching logic.
Filter out a little bit.
That one's been really successful, and companies have really increased their conversions of like a hand raiser to actually getting an appointment booked. So that's the first one I would think of.
Yeah, I love that. So we often say to businesses, and people get overwhelmed quickly, business owners especially, myself included, right? We say, look, you got to solve one problem at a time. It's taking a bite of the elephant one bite at a time, right? That being said, in the same breath, there are some bites of the elephant that are already figured out. There are some problems that are already solved, and there are some things that you can just get off of your plate. And I would certainly recommend to any business owner, whether you hear from us or otherwise, this is one that you want to get off your plate. You've got a lot of things you're going on. Even if you have a marketing team, there are vendors, and then there are partners that can help you solve a lot of these problems. Come in, evaluate the situation, and provide the right solution for the right problem. I think so many times we're trying to solve every single problem ourselves, and that's partially why we get so many people saying they're overwhelmed. They don't even understand the questions that they have to ask to get there. But if they could just say, come and partner with David Askvig, right? All of a sudden, that's off their plate. They can focus on the fulfillment. They can focus on the biz dev. They can focus on sales. And they now provide that Chick-fil-A experience because process was figured out. They got it through. So I guess that brings us to, what are some specific pain points that businesses are feeling today that you specifically can help with, and that, a solution like yours would help businesses get past?
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants revenue. So anything like that's what they want. Now you have to peel that back. There's a lot of layers to that. One thing that I've seen with some of the smaller organizations, like the one I was kind of mentioning, where I'm working with like kind of the founder, and is they need time to focus on the most important things. And so sometimes when you can automate things or bring clarity to the process such that other people can do it, you are better spending your resources, right? Your higher value, higher dollar paid people are doing what's most important, and then you can either delegate through automation or to other people to do some of the other things. If it's a larger organization, all those things still apply, but I think things, you have leaky funnels, things get missed, or you have a high volume of things happening, And if it, let's say you're just sending a whole bunch of leads to a sales team, are they actually getting there? Are they making the calls? Are things happening? So I think sometimes I think about automation with a larger business as making sure things don't fall through the cracks. And then obviously at scale, when you automate at scale, that can be really effective. That's I guess what I would say.
That makes me think. So, our bread and butter at RunLeadGen, between Brian and I and the team that we're building, we're really good at SEO. We're good at websites. We're good at Google ads and Facebook ads and generating the leads, right? And I would say, 10 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, a high percentage of our clients get to the point where they're saying, I'm inundated with leads. I'm inundated with, I'm feeling like I'm just overwhelmed with the volume of new potential clients coming in. One, I want to know where they came from. Two, I want to know my return on my investment. And a lot of them, as they start to get more familiar with the process, I want to know the return on my investment by channel. I want to know where people are falling off. They start to get to a place where they want to optimize. And so these are problems that generally when we hear these type of symptoms, we're like, yeah, you need a CRM, you need attribution. We've got to tie into the channels. And you really want, I know HubSpot boasts, kind of the one CRM to rule them all, regardless, right? The idea of one place to capture all this inbound marketing and potentially any outbound efforts, right?
Sure. Yep.
And then to know where they're going, what they're turning into. I would say anybody who's not worried either will be soon or needs to be, certainly if they're looking to grow or scale their business.
Yeah, I mean, so a CRM, like how do you manage your customer relations, right? Whether that's prospecting during the sale or post-sale, the CRM really helps do that. Can you do that with Google Sheets and a whole bunch of other tools? You can, but at some point it will fall apart. And a lot of times when you have a business that's using all these separate tools, there's silos. Brian, something that Quinn doesn't know about the business because you're each using your own tools, right? When you're able to put that into one system that has greater visibility, everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
And you can all work towards giving that customer the best experience. I mean, when you call into like a support line, any company, you expect them to know everything about you. It's funny. Sometimes I take off my operational hat and know how hard it is to deliver a good experience. And then I think like, I'm just calling in. They should know when I last called in. They should know my issue last time. Like all this stuff I expect as a consumer that they should know, right? But that's not easy to deliver, especially if you're not using like, a tool to actually help you manage that entire thing. Obviously that's a customer support example, but on the marketing front, like you have people that are interacting with you in different ways, pre-sales and post-sales, and the whole team should be aware of that journey.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Yeah. I was going to say, we've definitely seen that customer support, once people are getting into a CRM, whether that's just to help them organize or to go after attribution or to help them in their sales ops. But then that next step being, okay, now I have this data. So the next time they call in, all right, now we need to open up customer support. And so it's not something that I've usually thought about from the marketing lens that I view everything through, and especially HubSpot. When I look at it, I'm always thinking from the marketing end. But yeah, there's, I think, a huge opportunity for business owners to, like you said, improve that entire experience for all steps of their journey by getting into something like that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I want to talk briefly about some of the cutting edge stuff when it comes to automation, CRM, even RevOps, right? We are definitely playing around more, especially lately with, and you'll have to help me, Brian, remember what we call this, as you start to identify a user earlier, right?
Oh, like the unmasking some identity. So, for example, there's tools. I know some of the first party data tools like Segment, but where if you visit someone's site, their analytics not only is showing you, oh yeah, it was this person, this kind of the standard data maybe they would have from a cookie or analytics, but now branched out and compiled from other data sources that everyone has on you. Now they know it's actually you, what company you're from, your email address, phone number. I think unmasking, I can't remember the term that's getting used for that, but
yeah. Ultimately, I think the point here is technology is growing fast. The industry is changing fast. If you are growing a business in 2024 and you want this to be a long-term deal, right? You're not trying to sell in the next, year. You really want this to be something that's going to perpetuate maybe into generations or whatever, right? Your ambitions are longer termed than maybe even just the next 3 or 5 years. You need to be considering a solution for the ever-changing digital landscape to go to market, to reach your customers appropriately, to solve their problem, and to have some systems in place to do that the most efficiently possible. Would you agree? I mean,
Yeah, no, I would. I mean, I think the fundamentals are always going to be the same of business. Like, do you have product market fit? Like, so how do you grow an audience? Like, I think a lot of times now it's about growing an audience and that knows who you are. How do you entertain an audience? Because that's how you capture attention. It's a lot harder to capture and keep attention. But if you think of ads as like how are you, a media company, entertaining people, right? You can capture attention. So I think some of the fundamentals are there. There's a lot of cool tools. Frankly, I actually have stayed a little bit more on the basic side. Like, company will say, hey, I want to use this fancy AI, whatever, right? And it's like, well, what does the foundation look like? Oh, you have like terrible data to even use. Like, you have duplicates in your system and this system isn't talking to that system. So really I think use some of the bells and whistles, you actually have to have a solid foundation. So personally, maybe I need to invest more personally in some of the, the bells and whistles, but I found that the problems I'm solving with my clients are a little bit more fundamental.
Sure.
Before kind of adding on the.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about AI and HubSpot, because we've seen AI, because it's getting so much attention right now. Sometimes I think it maybe is being shoehorned into places where it doesn't fit, or being used as a gimmick to help sell a service that really isn't AI focused. But I don't know what that's been like for you on your end, if you're running into a lot of people that are wanting to get AI customer facing or doing things like that they're asking for that type of adoption.
So to be frank, the people I'm working with aren't actually asking for AI solutions. Now, at least in the conversations I have with them, perhaps they're doing things in other ways. But that hasn't been directly like, hey, I want to use this AI tool. That being said, like, companies are using it in so many facets. It could be as simple as, data manipulation, a custom coded action, it's easier, or calculated field. It's easier to create that through something like that. A big thing that HubSpot is doing around content generation. So obviously there's a lot of tools to help you. If you do one piece of content, you can put it in a lot of different ways. I like how HubSpot's doing it where you give a prompt and then it can create an email, landing page. And so it just helps you be faster at using, going to market with a campaign.
Yeah, I actually saw for the first time, and I don't know how new it was, the HubSpot for their AI content generation. They're actually helping people, which I appreciated through an SEO lens, of creating the content pillars, kind of the hub and spoke model, and directing people to think about optimization as they're doing their content creation in there. And so they seem to be having a ton of updates coming from HubSpot all of the time. I know a year and a half ago, one of the things I was trying to help someone with on HubSpot was lead level traffic attribution. You know, they had it at an aggregate, but they wanted it down to the specific lead. And I was having to really mess with things. And I am not a HubSpot expert by any means, but I've seen more recently, they've got a lot of those pieces all connected for Google Ads. And it's really awesome what HubSpot has been doing.
They release features crazy. I mean, I can't keep up, to be honest, which is kind of fun. It's fun to see a company that has that much momentum.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to shift the last part of this conversation really about you in particular, David. And I want to know, you know, as you've kind of come into your own thing, what are some wins that you've seen? What are some headwinds that you've seen, and how did you surpass them? Like, if you speaking directly to those business owners out there that are trying to grow, that are doing their own thing, what can you tell us of your learnings?
Yeah. So basically on the client side, like what are our shared learnings, or like as I'm running my business?
I mean, I think they would both be valuable, but yes, I'm curious about you in particular. What are some of your learnings? And then of course, how does that bleed into your clients? What are their learnings?
Sure. Yeah. I would say, I feel like a broken record, but so many companies do not have a documented process, like, or they have a process, but they can't visualize it, or they can't, like, there's not shared understanding of process. And so more and more, every single client engagement, it starts with me. First of all, what is the pain they're experiencing, right? And you have to, they come to you because they have some sort of pain that you can solve. And so that's what the area you need to zoom into. But like every time let's document, like, what is, okay, now let's zoom out and see that, okay, what could the future look like? And so that's, again, I've said this how many times?
Sure.
But that's what I'm finding they need the most, because when everyone can visualize what is, they can see the problems, and everyone can be creative to then solve it, or to think through, like, how should we do this differently? So that's working well. I think I've personally, as a, you know, I feel weird calling myself a business owner, because, you know, but I guess I am.
Own it. Yeah.
I'm a business owner.
You are.
But I have noticed that I need to do more self-discovery of, like, how I present what I do, my services. I have no website. So this is crazy. I've been doing this for a year. I have no website. You guys, you can,
We're like,
you can give me those glaring scares. My plan was, hey, I need to get some clients so I can have income.
Right.
And then during slow periods, I'm going to start doing this. I really haven't had any slow periods.
Sure.
And unless I'm growing my business, hiring more people, like, I don't actually need to, you know, I haven't had the time or spent the time to focus on it. But I am realizing that, you know, as I'm having more conversations with people, like, there's an element of, I need to look like a more legit business, have a good, you know, professional online presence and so forth. And so I think I've probably lost some, you know, new prospects based on, like, they say, send me information on more what you do. It's
sure.
Like, can we jump on a meeting? I'll tell you about it, you know? So that's something that I personally need to focus on.
And if I may, this is actually, so we come into contact, I say, at least tens, if not hundreds of businesses over the course of each month. We have a lot of channels out there. So we've got, and we've always said, you know, inbound marketing, outbound marketing, strategic business partner relationships for growing a business. Okay. And we participate in, like, a local networking group. We've got our own, you know, ads running, our own SEO, obviously podcasts and some organic stuff. We talk to a lot of businesses. And I would say a good majority of them, including ourselves, by the way, when we were first starting, run into the issue of not thinking big enough. And so this is what I remember from talking with other business owners who preceded me as I was in my kind of corporate career, building that, others that had gone on and done their own. And since then, so many people, because I'll say something modest like, I don't need to solve the world's problems. I can be a good marketer for a handful of clients and live well and have good, work-life balance. And every time I've heard it, it sounded pretentious originally. It's like, you're not thinking big enough. And I'm like, who are you to tell me I'm not thinking big enough? But ultimately, what I think I've come to learn is think huge and let it fall where it falls. And what I mean by that is like, there is no reason businesses shouldn't be thinking, I'm going to go and get a website. I'm going to pay somebody to build me a Facebook ad flow. I'm going to get a HubSpot guy or marketing automation in general. I'm going to get some Google ads. I'm going to go invest. Say you invest anywhere between $1,500 to, I don't know, $5,000 a month. And obviously the retainers can get considerably large as well. But imagine a world now where you're not worried about where the next job is coming from. You've solved these problems with people who know how to solve these problems. And now you can hire more people. There's no reason. And I say this now that I'm starting to understand it, and we're learning and we're growing and we're hiring people and we're growing our teams. There's no reason for me not to be able to choose then how much involvement I want after I build the systems and I've got the SOPs and I've built the teams to do good work, that I don't have to be in the weeds of every moment and still be successful and grow other companies and grow a business. And so what I hear all the time, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but especially from these small mom and pops being in Salt Lake where everybody's starting up, and this is why we are saying, don't just start up, grow, scale, build it into something, because then you have options. Once you've grown, then you can decide how much involvement you want. Maybe you still love to do what you do. Massage therapists, chiropractors, contractors, tech people. But now you have the option of saying, do I sell? Do I hire a CEO? How long do I want to do this? It just gives you options. So we would always say to everybody now, having been there and done that and heard it and rolled my eyes, we also now start to say, I hear myself saying, think big, go big, build the website, build the structure, build the infrastructure, get your ads out there, because it will be worth it to you in the end when now you have options. Now you can decide if you want your own work-life balance. You just have more options. So yeah.
The thing I would say, and it's just to add on to that, it's like if we aim for the absolute stars, even if we don't hit at the stars, by aiming up there, we're getting way higher and better results than you would just being more careful or worried about, accomplishing. So
yeah, I think like I said, we've had to learn this kind of the hard way, and we're still learning it, right? But I think something that we have done well, especially in the last 6 months, is like, what are our reachable goals? What's the stretch goal? Let's put it up. And we've hit some of them and we've not hit others. And at the end, when we look back, we say, hey, but look how far we've come.
Yeah.
We're tracking for Inc. 500. We're making it happen. And so anyway, I think the big takeaway here from us, if we could bestow any knowledge to anybody listening, is go for the gold. And then anything that happens after that, it's just going to be cream on the top. It's just going to be, exciting where you land. So with that, David, we are so grateful that you came. We're grateful that you bestowed some of the knowledge of your craft here with us. And if we can, just for the people listening and watching, how do we find you? Give us your name again, and maybe just tell us a little bit, something about you to help us remember you and think of you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you heard I have no website. LinkedIn, David Askvig. The nice thing about having a unique last name is, you're going to find me.
There you go.
You're either going to find my business LinkedIn profile, you're going to find a drumming video, or potentially if you look back
Yes.
far enough, you'll see some BMX tricks. So,
Oh, yeah.
So that's what you'll find if you look me up. So there's a little interesting thing.
The
about
internet's
me.
a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're using HubSpot and you're like, I need some help, I would love to help in whatever way I can. Sometimes it starts off by just giving free advice.
Absolutely.
I've learned that developing relationships and giving before you get is really a good way to, help. And when people actually have a problem that you can solve, they're going to come to you. So,
Love that.
yeah. I have a bunch of kids I'm really passionate about. My wife and I do foster care.
Very
and we
cool.
have some adopted kids as well. And so that's dear to my heart as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we are a part of that networking group, BNI, and their motto is givers gain, right? This idea of go out, provide value, give something to somebody, let relationships grow, and it'll all come back. So we appreciate you for coming here and giving. And you guys, this is RunLeadGen Radio, your go-to podcast for all things digital marketing, growing your business. If this is something that you're interested in, or that you've got friends or business owners that give it a share. And we'd love to hear your comments on marketing automation, on RevOps, on systems, right? And if you have any questions, obviously shoot them our way, shoot them David's way, and we'll get you helped out. Remember, RunLeadGen, where we help you scale to success.